In 2026, the market can be up, AI can be booming, headlines can sound optimistic, and you can still be one bad month away from panic. That's what makes this kind of economy dangerous. It can look stronger from the outside, while your personal financial structure is still weak. If your income is up, but your fixed costs are above 60%, your cash buffer is under 3 months, and only a small part of your paycheck becomes real ownership. Then 2026 may look better, but your financial life may not be. That's the first mistake people make in a stronger looking year. They confuse a better environment with a better structure. And those are not the same thing. A richer looking economy can create more spending, more optimism, and more confidence without creating more resilience. That's why 2026 could quietly become one of the most deceptive financial years for ordinary people. Because when the world looks stronger, people stop checking whether they are. If you want to know whether 2026 is actually making you stronger, there are 3 signals that matter. Not just your salary, not just your portfolio, not just whether life feels smoother. 3 real signals. The first is income versus pressure. A lot of people think a better economy makes them safer because they're earning more. But the real question is much simpler. How much of that higher income is already committed before the month even starts? If your rent, debt, transportation, insurance, subscriptions, and lifestyle upgrades are absorbing 50%, 60%, or even 70% of your income, then your higher income didn't make you stronger. It made your life more expensive, and that's one of the biggest traps in a good year. When people feel optimistic, they quietly normalize a more expensive monthly life, more convenience, more automatic spending, and more recurring costs they barely notice. Because it happens gradually, it feels harmless. But the real metric is this. If your income rises, but your fixed cost ratio stays high or gets worse, your life is not improving. It's inflating. That's why 2 people can both get a raise in 2026, and one becomes more stable, while the other becomes more fragile. Same raise, different structure. That's the first signal. Income going up doesn't matter if pressure rises with it. The second signal is market gains versus personal liquidity. This is where 2026 becomes especially deceptive. Because in a strong-looking year, people start seeing green numbers everywhere. Their investments, retirement accounts, and app balances all start looking better at the same time. And psychologically, that can make them feel safer than they really are. That's what I call paper strength. Your money looks stronger on a screen, but your real-life system is still easy to break. If you have less than 3 months of essential expenses in cash, if one surprise bill still creates stress, and if a disrupted paycheck would still change your behavior immediately, then your portfolio may look better. But your life is not safer. That distinction matters. Because markets can rise while your personal margin stays weak. And in years like 2026, that can push people into even more risk. They spend more because the portfolio feels bigger. They relax because the headlines feel better. They become more confident without becoming more protected. That's dangerous because liquidity is boring. It doesn't feel exciting. It doesn't impress people. It doesn't look rich. But in a year that looks strong while many people stay fragile, liquidity is what keeps your life from breaking. If this is already changing how you think about money, subscribe. Because on this channel, we don't just talk about making more money, in a better economy. We talk about whether your life is actually getting harder to break. The third signal is the one most people ignore: lifestyle growth versus ownership growth. This may be the most important signal in 2026 because in a stronger looking economy, people often upgrade faster than they accumulate. Their life gets nicer before it gets safer. That's the trap. The problem is not that life improves. The problem is when your lifestyle starts looking richer, while the percentage of your income turning into something you actually own stays weak. That's the question almost nobody asks. How much of your paycheck becomes ownership? Not consumption, not appearances, not temporary comfort. Ownership, cash reserves, investments you keep, assets that reduce future fragility, capital that gives you options. If that number is still low in 2026, then your life may be improving visually but not structurally. And that's the central danger of a year like this. Because strong looking years create emotional permission, permission to relax, permission to assume things are getting better, permission to stop measuring the foundation. But wealth is not the moment your life looks more expensive. It's the moment your system becomes more resilient. So here's a fast self-check for 2026. Ask yourself these three questions. First, did your income go up? Or did your monthly pressure go up faster? If your income improved, but your fixed costs are still above 60%, that's not real progress. Second, if your portfolio disappeared tomorrow, how many months could your real life still run from cash? If the answer is under 3 months, your financial system is probably weaker than it looks. Third, compared to last year, did your lifestyle improve faster than your ownership? If your spending rose faster than your cash reserves, assets, or optionality, then 2026 may be making you feel richer without actually making you stronger. That's the core idea. A strong-looking year can hide weak financial lives, and that's why 2026 may reward one trait more than income, optimism, or even market gains: structural discipline. Because in years that look rich, the winners are not the people who feel wealthier. They're the people who quietly become harder to break. And in 2026, that difference may matter more than ever.